All of your meetings now are remote. So how do you make sure that they're a success? I'm Jo Peacock, and I've got some tips for you. We're living in a world where everything is being conducted remotely right now. So what if you have to attend a remote meeting? Or what if you have to facilitate a remote meeting and lead a meeting? Well, I'm going to look at both of those scenarios in this video, and we'll go through some tips on how we can actually approach this, how you can make this a success. Let's start off with, what about you managing a meeting? What if you are chairing a meeting? Well, my tips for you are, first of all, get to know your technology. Before you even start, get to understand what your technology is. Whether you're using Zoom, whether you're using Skype, whether you're using Teams or Slack, whatever the technology is, get to know it. Because you are the leader of the meeting, and so people that are attending will be looking to you for advice. So it's important you understand the technology. Make sure that if your meeting's a long meeting, that you need to adjust your times to accommodate any breaks. Some meetings, some workshops especially, can go on for a good couple of hours. So you need to have breaks during that time. What are you going to do during that break? Are you just going to leave your camera open? Are you going to leave your microphone open? Are you just going to walk away from your screen and leave a blank background there? Or maybe you're going to put a slide up so that everybody can see that, and then you take that slide down when you come back for the break. It's something important to think about. Once you've really, been in that situation once, then obviously you know for the next time. But let's make that first time a success, shall we? Make sure that you've got all of your necessary windows and all resources open before you start the meeting. There's nothing worse than having a chair of a meeting, trying to hunt around and open lots of different windows to find that particular document that they need. So make sure that it's there and it's on your desktop. And make sure that you know your stuff, that you know what you're talking about, and that you are fully aware of all of the nuances associated with that particular subject. People are feeling very uncertain right now. People are feeling very anxious right now. So what they want from any leader of any meeting is that assertiveness and that confidence that everything's okay. Even if it is just for this meeting, they need that assertiveness. They need that confidence. Oh, and by the way, it's really important. Some people may not have cameras, so it's important that you remember your tone. You're coming across as maybe just voice only. Maybe they can't see you. Maybe you can't see them. So remember the tone that you use. Just take a little note of it as you speak. You don't want to come across as being patronizing, but you don't want to come across as being rude either. You don't want to come across as being too slow or speak too quickly. That's a mistake that some people make, in that face to face it's very easy to speak quickly. But when you're on a video conference, you don't want to do that. People might be difficult, or might be hard of hearing. It might be difficult for them to lip read. So please make sure you speak slowly and clearly. Oh, and don't forget to smile. And don't forget to intonate as well. There's nothing worse than having somebody talk to you in a monotone. You'd hate it if I was doing that right now. I know you would. So smile. Your personality is going to come through as you speak. Right at the very start of the meeting, talk your participants through all of the functionality of that meeting. Whatever the buttons are, how do they raise a hand virtually? How do they applause virtually? A lot of these functions are available virtually, but tell those participants how to actually do that so that they are completely aware, and so you don't have any delays while people start asking questions throughout your meeting. Something that's really important during the meeting is that you grab people's attention. It's really, really easy. If I'm a remote person, it's really easy for me to be distracted. I've just had a notification that an email came in and I'm desperate to read it. Oh, I've just had a text message. I'm desperate to read that. Something else has just happened and I saw a notification on YouTube. I really need to watch that video. If you're not grabbing people's attention, they're switched off, and that means that your message is not getting across. So make sure that you grab their attention. Maybe you need some interaction within your meeting. How are you going to do that? Make sure you've worked that out before you start the meeting. Just remember that people are going to be distracted, so you do want to have breaks sort of very frequently, but not too long. You just want very little and often breaks depending on how long your particular meeting or your workshop, your session is. As far as participant of any meeting is concerned, how do you ensure then that you are an active participant of a meeting and that you are attentive throughout the meeting? Well, let's just make sure that there are no issues throughout your meeting. So 15 minutes before any meeting is due to start, check your connections, check the app and make sure that everything is working okay. I will hold my hands up on this one, and I'm going to say to you that, there's sometimes I have meetings and I find myself 5 minutes beforehand having to reboot my laptop, or I have to, close out the application and then start again, or maybe I've got problems with my internet. You're not going to get to the meeting on time if you're doing that 5 minutes beforehand. Maybe I need to listen to my own advice on this one. When you get into the meeting, check that everybody can hear you and check that everybody can see you as well. Remember to mute your mic when you're not speaking, but always face the camera when you are speaking. Sure, like me, you may want to look down at your notes, and that's fine, but face the camera. Don't face that picture of that person, because if you face the picture of, the previous speaker, you'll be looking down here all the time, but the camera happens to be up there. Look at the camera while you're speaking. Try and remove any distractions from your background, from what's happening outside your window, because let's face it, you're probably at home right now, and keep that door closed. We've all seen that video, haven't we? It's probably made it around YouTube now. The guy that was on the BBC News that time, when his kids came in and distracted him during a live interview on TV. Try and make sure that doesn't happen. But let's face it, we're all in a situation now where we all know that everybody is working from home. So when an interruption like that does happen, don't be fazed by it. It's okay. It just carries on. Business as usual. We all understand. But if you're being distracted, then you're probably not talking about the topic at hand. So it's really important that you try and keep those distractions to a minimum. Something else that's a really useful technique when it comes to remote meetings is referring to people by name. You see, if you've got 50 people in a meeting and you want to talk to one of them, it's no good just making a blanket statement, because everybody will assume that you're not talking to them. So when you have something to say to one person, or when you are replying to a specific person, then refer to them by name. Then they will know that comment is directed at them. It's also very easy in a remote meeting for one person to be the sole voice of that meeting. So it's up to the facilitator, but it's also up to you as well to make sure that even if you have a point to say, that you give everybody the opportunity to make their point heard. Be mindful that other people want to speak but may not be as confident in that particular medium as you are. And check that everybody does understand everything that you say. So you can use affirmative questions such as, is that okay? Did you all understand that? Does everybody have any questions? Does that make sense to you? And of course, the number one thing that you need to be doing in your meeting is making sure that you don't have any side conversations. Side conversations with one person while the facilitator is trying to keep the meeting to an agenda can be incredibly difficult. Now, it is the role of the facilitator of that meeting to ensure that the topic does remain on track, but nevertheless, everybody should be aware, you should be aware as a participant, that now is not the time for just general chit-chat, now is the time for focus. There's been quite a few tips there, both for facilitators of meetings and for people that are attending meetings. But if you follow those tips for every single meeting, you'll find that your meeting will actually be a really successful meeting and you will gain a lot out of each meeting. So enjoy the time that you're meeting remotely and look forward to the time when you're back in a room together again. Check out the playlist for more working from home tips and be sure to subscribe to the IT Pro TV channel. I'm Jo Peacock and thanks for watching.